Okay, we're just gonna go straight into talking because that's the new format of the show. We just don't. We did it for 426 episodes. We gave everyone a chance in the audience. 8 years straight.
That means we're not going to say welcome to the official podcast episode 400, whatever it is. We're not going to introduce that these are your hosts, Jackson, Andrew, and Kaya. We're not going to say that we have a lot of great topics and we're going to jump right into it. We're not going to say any of all that. We're just going to start talking right now.
No, I'm so fucking tired of that. I'm done. It took 426 episodes.
I'm not going to make the joke I always make, which is Jackson's going to start us off. He has all the topics. I'm not going to rant about that for another minute. No, we wouldn't do that after introducing the host and saying welcome to the show episode, whatever number it is. We wouldn't do that.
Did that entire joke start because in the very first episode of the podcast, I said I would bring topics and then I never brought topics at all?
You remember the first episode of the podcast?
Yeah, I remember that specifically. I remember saying I'd write down topics to prepare us for the episode recording, and then during the recording, you guys asked me for topics, and I said, "But we don't have any. I didn't bring any."
I don't even remember the episode last week. I'm surprised you remember that. Jesus.
Oh, come on! You never forget your first time.
I did.
I forgot everything after maybe episode 10, but I would say those first 10 episodes are pretty ingrained in my brain, and then it's just like random memories throughout the years.
I more so remember specific memories of fun moments or guests that I liked more than the early days.
But I wouldn't be able to tell you what episode they were, or even what year it came from, or even just granular details.
I don't know if you've ever gotten this, but I get messages from fans, and they're like, "Hey man, I was just listening to episode 327, and at this time code, 22 minutes in, you said something. Do you still think that?" What? I don't know.
I don't even think things that I'm saying right now. That's how little I think about things on this show. Like, you gotta understand that this.
You have a horrific memory, to be fair, in your defense.
But also, it's a fucking comedy podcast. Like, I come here and just shoot the shit, basically. There is very little thought into the things that I'm saying at any given point. And I think people know that as well, because obviously I come across as very stupid in the show. So,
well, what I don't get is why don't they just remind you? Why do they have to specify the exact moment of the exact episode you said it? Why can't they just ask, "Oh, do you still think blank?" You know?
Well, they've come with the receipts, Andrew. They want you to know for sure that you said this.
I may have said that in the past. It doesn't mean I believe it now, or I might have been a joke. Who knows?
All right, well, what first of all, what did you say in episode 327 at the 45-minute mark? What are you trying to hide from us?
I think I said I have to piss, and I've never pissed in my entire life, so it just made no sense.
I don't stand by that opinion of needing to piss.
That's a misrepresentation of my character. I've never pissed in my life.
No, there's certainly things from the podcast length that we've just moved on from individually. There's plenty of things that I've said. Like, even just within this year, I change my mind all the fucking time. To hold us to the standards of Jackson from last week is ridiculous. I won't stand for it. And like Kaya as well, he used to suck. He used to hate Elon Musk, and now he
finish that first thought. Where was that first thought going?
Oh my god,
I'm curious.
This again.
Well, no, you've actually changed your mind again. I will say that Kaya's become more reasonable about Elon Musk recently, which is good.
I haven't changed my mind even once. We've been over this. Yeah, you just don't remember us being over this because, again, you have no memory. So you can't even remember for like 5 weeks.
I've changed my mind again. Okay, I've changed my mind again. Kaya is still unreasonable.
I mean, in terms of Elon, though, he kind of made the world change his mind by just opening his mouth constantly. I mean, Reddit used to love the shit out of him, and the internet used to love him, and now it's super contentious just over the years.
I think, to put words in Kaya's mouth, I think he thinks that he's cringe, which I agree with, but he's also... Like his businesses have contributed positively to the world, like making rockets that catch themselves and shit. That's just cool, you know. That's just
that is cool. I don't know if you guys saw the Neuralink videos of people like them putting chips in people's brains, and they can now control robot arms just with thoughts.
Holy shit!
And like type with just thoughts. That stuff is cool. Yeah.
There's.
Did we say this on the show or beforehand? Where like, if we could take a pill that would stop us from being out of sleep, or like would make us not need to sleep.
Oh my god!
And we take it immediately.
That would actually be like $1 million pill if you could just take one.
$1 million. That would be life. Imagine the productivity increase. I'm assuming that this pill, like, if you don't sleep, then there's no negative downsides, right? Obviously, we know if you don't sleep currently, you go insane and die because your brain can't handle it. But in this picturesque world, if you take the pill and like there's no side effects whatsoever, you just don't need to sleep. Can you imagine the productivity increase? You double your lifespan. with one pill.
Do you sleep 12 hours a day?
Well, roughly. Okay,
a third.
You're being,
but
you're
no,
being,
I get what you're saying.
sure.
I do get what you're saying.
Yeah, the point.
I mean, there are pros and cons
level
to him, though, like every industry man in every industry, though. I'll take the negative side. I know you guys are really glazing and sucking Elon's toes right now, but I'll take the opposite side. Let's not forget the Hyperloop. I think it's called the Hyperloop, which is the dumbest goddamn public transportation system ever made on the planet. The fucking Teslas in Las Vegas that drive down a single-use tunnel where they could have just built a train.
At least he's trying something. Like
but why would you try that when it's just a more cumbersome train in every single way? It's stupid.
Because they can't even make a train. At that point, you might as well do like fanciful, ridiculous lunacy shits where you just gamble on lunacy.
It's absolutely dumb. I agree. But you can't complain about the the American road infrastructure needing to be improved. And, like reliance on
I will complain about it. I just won't ever expect it to get fixed. That's but two different things. Yeah,
you need to do new stuff.
No.
I guess you need actual solutions to that, which I don't think the loop is. But at least it's an attempt. Like at least someone's trying to come up with that.
Yes, I just we got to the point where it was fully built instead of laughed out of the boardroom is my point, because again, it's just a train with more steps and more points of failure. That's all it is.
I was going to say with the topic of the pills that make you not sleep, if you want to take an actual negative aside from that, a negative from that is that Helix Sleep would run out of business. And they're friends of ours.
Fuck.
What about all the mattress companies? We got to think of them.
The poor mattress companies raking in billions of dollars. We have to think of them.
I always love that though, like the idea of these incredible technologies that exist or are going to exist in the future. What kind of ramifications it's going to have for like traditional things that we can't even comprehend yet? Like, in that case, mattress business is going out of business basically. Like that's pretty hilarious.
But it's also going to be depressing because you're going to have like workplaces saying, well, if you're not sleeping, you don't have to clock out at nights, you can stay past 5 p.m. And
the 18-hour work
when
day begins.
When you call like a home, like somebody to fix your internet or whatever, Cox is going to be like, yeah, we can come by between like 1 a.m. and 1 a.m., 24 hours, whenever. You're going to be up, right? Fuck you. There's always going to be noise in the streets. You're never going to have that like, the beautiful, idyllic Zen around like 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning when everyone else is sleeping and you get to be productive in complete silence, knowing your door is not gonna ring, your cell phone is not gonna ring. I like that.
But counterpoint,
if you're a night owl.
I like it. It's a little bit romantic. Sex happens at 2 a.m. That's pretty cool. Big fan of that. But also counterpoint, like you can't get anything done with other people at 2 a.m. That's always the downside for me.
I'm gonna stop you there. I'm gonna completely counterpoint that. You're completely neglecting the international market, my friend. Work with people overseas. So work with people overseas.
I'm not going to fly someone out from China to fix my fridge or something. I mean, like
I guess
setting up appointments.
You can't work with them
but
in person.
I mean, like setting up appointments while I'm awake,
can...
like having a maintenance guy over. Now I need to wake up during the day when my sleep schedule's off. Because,
you're just describing how I've lived for the last 4 years, where I go to bed at like 5 in the morning and wake up at 3, and God help me if I have to wake up early for something.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that's the downside of existing on that time frame. Is like you exist on a time frame when everyone else doesn't, so it's hard to get things done in that way.
I guess if people aren't sleeping anymore, is the time frame going to stay the same? There's a lot less reason for it to, right?
What do you mean time frame?
So currently the time frame for sun to night, and that being the typical hours you work when the sun is out, is it's just convenient for the industry. It's traditional as well. Like nearly everything was, we need the sun to do this. But in the modern world, think how many jobs are now completely digital. And if people didn't need to sleep and didn't operate on a common sleeping schedule, I imagine a big chunk of work time would go shift to night. Like many more people would work through night hours just for a variety of reasons.
Every business now to be a 24-hour business as well? Because you don't
that's
know
what
when
I'm saying.
your customers...
That would be annoying. I don't want that. I don't want to know that I have to like check my emails at fucking midnight just in case there's like some important shit in there. I don't want that. Business hours should remain business hours, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, there are 24/7, even over here, there are 24/7 businesses. Like, obviously, like McDonald's is open 24/7 as well. It's like,
I'm okay with us having robot slaves for that. Yeah, like
sure.
If you have a drone, you can operate that thing 24/7 and whip it to deliver you McDonald's at night. Sure.
I just think it'd be interesting if there's no more traditional business hours where, let's say, you go to McDonald's at 1 a.m. and instead of expecting, it's the fucking graveyard shift of people who don't give a shit and I'm going to get food poisoning.
Vibrant and active.
It's the same. Yeah. It's the same as if it's during the day because people aren't
That'd be so
sleeping.
Wild.
Yeah, I think.
Although
it's amazing.
That happens after, like, if you go to like a gig or a concert, like you're walking over at 1 a.m. and this is also a city thing. Like usually cities are pretty active around that time anyway, like 12-1.
Oh yeah. When I was in Seattle, it was like I think midnight, and I was walking around with a friend and a concert let out, just big concert venue, and just seas and seas of people poured out of a building. And we walked a couple blocks, and there was a donut shop that was open till like 4 a.m. I swear to God, there was 100 people in line, just packed out the door. And I would bet money that except for the morning, like work mornings, that's the most crowded they ever are at that time when that venue lets out at night. Yeah. So there's businesses and congregations like that already. It would only increase everywhere if people aren't sleeping,
I don't really care about like the market issues that would stem from us being able to not sleep. I would just absolutely love that to be a thing so that we don't have to deal with sleep issues. Because I really feel like a majority of the population deals with sleep issues in the current era. I feel like everyone I talk to has sleep issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, from time to time.
Stressful.
I don't know if I would trust a pill. I would need like at least 2 generations of people to be the guinea pig though. Before
I'm not jumping on any technology, especially not jumping on any technology that interfaces with my brain. I'm not being a first gen.
Oh fuck no, no. Like, that's the other thing. Whenever I say like, what, this Neuralink shit is super cool, I would never get it, but it's cool from a distance. It's like it's almost like admiring a cool animal at the zoo. Like, yeah, that tiger looks badass, but I'd never get in the freaking hop the fence into it. It just seems like I want to wait a little, You go ahead and do it.
I've seen enough science fiction to know how this can go wrong, There's so many possible things that could go wrong with technology interfacing directly with our brains.
Yeah, and then get hacked like a freaking dummy. Like, yeah, it's cool that paraplegics can play Age of Empires, but also, like, you're gonna get hacked by the Chinese, you know that, right? Like, Israel's gonna put explosives into your fucking brain chip. I'm not buying into that.
You can also play Age of Empires if your legs don't work, by the way. I don't know if people out there knew that. You can use a mouse and keyboard in a wheelchair. It's not illegal.
Yeah, how often do you utilize your legs during gaming?
Quadriplegic would be all 4 limbs, but paraplegic typically refers to legs.
Can you be paraplegic but just in your arms?
I think so, but I don't think that's very common.
I've never heard of paraplegia using that way, like only arms. There has to be an arm-centric term for it, surely.
Yeah, I've only ever heard it referred to as the arms.
You just learn how to use the mouse with your feet, right? Like a little monkey. You'd learn to use your grippers. Eventually, you'd have to. You'd get good at it too, I'm sure. If you really try.
Okay. So para refers to the hemisphere of the body. So the term actually notates like where along your body you are paralyzed. Like if you cut yourself in half. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So what's the north part? What's the northern hemisphere?
Diplegia is both arms.
Just the arms, or is it anywhere above the waist?
Same area mirrored on both sides of the body, and typically refers to when your arms are paralyzed.
Yep. Okay, so it's possible then. Well, it's got a term for it, I mean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you out there with diplegia, you're heard. You're not an unknown group anymore. You're real, and we validate you.
Literally never heard that terminology before. How common is it? Because I've seen a lot of people in wheelchairs without legs, but I've never seen people without 2 arms or something.
Really?
How would that even happen?
Like not in public. Like I haven't seen them around. I'm sure they exist, but I've just never seen them. I've seen more people without legs.
Yeah, same.
Diplegia. How do you spell it?
Diplegia.
Diaperplegia.
Diaperplegia. Google diaper please, and you'll find it.
Diaper please. For adults.
For adults. Adult diapers, please, and then Jackson Clarke.
So it's about 2 in 1,000 people.
Why didn't they say 1 in 500?
I don't know.
That's
I didn't
stupid.
make the rates. That seems like a lot, though, actually. 1 in 500? That's a lot of people without arms.
Well, they don't. They might have them. They're just paralyzed. There's a difference between not having it and being paralyzed.
Right, yeah. Just and it might mean just like some form of like, not being able to use them correctly, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, this is stupid. Apparently, diplegia can also refer to paraplegics because it can refer to both legs. We need more specific fucking terms for this. This is stupid.
Make it simple for us to know within 2 seconds of Googling.
So, diplegia just literally translates to symmetrical parts of the body. So, it could mean your 2 legs, your 2 arms, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, your 2 testicles might be paralyzed. But you would think they would have terms that specifically say leg and arm paralysis. Like, why not?
They do.
I can't play Age of Empires because my balls are paralyzed. I need Neuralink.
Get a brain chip, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, if you want to save some money and try to get your own Neuralink for your paralyzed testicles, you might want to take advantage of the offers from our sponsors, which we're going to cut to right now.
Everyone, or at least most people, need more money. But generating wealth requires you making the money that you do have work for you. That's where our sponsor, Acorns, comes in. They're the key to unlocking financial freedom for yourself and for your family. Acorns is a financial wellness app that helps you take control of your money with simple tools that make it easy to start saving and investing in your future. Now, you don't even need to be an expert because Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that matches you and your personal money goals. You don't even need to be rich. This isn't just something that Elon Musk will be able to take advantage of. Acorns makes it possible for everyone to get in on the action because they let you get started with the spare money you've got right now in your pockets, basically, a few dollars. Even if all you've got is spare change, Acorns will work for you. Acorns is the best way to get started with growing your wealth and taking a step into the world of investing. I've used it. I recommend it. I could immediately tell when using the app that it's an incredibly useful way of breaking down the barrier of entry, meaning that anyone can get on board with growing some personal wealth. So, are you ready to take control of your money? Sign up now and join the over 13 million all-time customers who have already saved and invested over $22 billion with Acorns. That's a lot of Acorns. Head to acorns.com/official or download the Acorns app to get started. And now we get to do the fast part.
Paid non-client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 1 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors LLC and SEC registered investment advisor.
View important disclosures at acorns.com/official.
Hey, what's your favorite video game? What? Speak up, I can't hear you. Just kidding. I can hear you perfectly fine and better than anyone else because I'm using Turtle Beach's new Gen 3 Stealth 700 headset, a headset that picks up so much crystal clear sound, it's basically cheating. I grew up in the Stone Ages, back when the newest, biggest, greatest video game was Call of Duty 4, and I remember Turtle Beaches were really starting to come up around that time, and just being able to hear people's footsteps from across the map and know exactly where they were really was just absolute nonsense when it came to how much it leveled up your gaming potential and made you better at being better than everyone else who isn't better than you. We're in the future now. Gaming is the biggest hobby on the planet. You can play anything you could ever imagine on these things. They will sound amazing. You don't even have to use them for a tactical advantage. You can use them to kick back, relax, talk to some voice chat with the built-in microphone, do whatever you've got to do. The Stealth 700 can even connect with your phone for music streaming or taking calls at the same time. Listen to your music while going on kill streaks. It's not going to interrupt each other. Versatile product. I absolutely love it. And this winter, you're going to forget the cold. Grab your Turtle Beach Gen 3 Stealth 700 headset and level up your gaming experience. Head to turtlebeach.com and use code OFFICIAL for 10% off your order. That's 10% off your entire order at turtlebeach.com with promo code OFFICIAL. turtlebeach.com, use code OFFICIAL, 10% off, get the headset, put it on your head, listen to this podcast on it. And then notice that you can hear our footsteps from across the microphone. turtlebeach.com, code OFFICIAL, 10% off your entire order. That was them. And that was the sponsors I warned you about.
I wonder if we had Helix mattress this week because we just talked about them potentially going out of business.
I actually think we don't. I don't think we do.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. Avoided that mess. No, I mean, that company's great. I love Well, now they're getting a free sponsorship slot, but I do love them.
I unironically do. I every time I do that read, I'm like, hey, I got one and it's great. And I genuinely mean it. Their mattresses are great.
Yeah, I've slept on many and they're very comfortable. This isn't a paid slot. This is just our opinion.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, what do we got? Give us a topic.
Well, no, Andrew, you were very excited this week to talk about something to do with guitars, and I wanted to let you take that.
Yes, my particular lock myself in my room and obsess about things no one cares about is guitars. I'll talk about hardware and building and history and all that shit, the parts that no one cares about. And so there is a show called The Rig Rundown, which is a common show that you'll find all over the internet. And it's literally, they just bring in guitarists and go, what do you play? Show us your guitar, your amp, your setup, your pedals, your mixer, everything to make the music you make. And I found this thread that I love this, and I really want to make it a philosophical question for you guys. Have you heard of the band The Misfits? Very, very popular punk rock band.
Very generic name. I feel like I have, but I don't know.
I mean, they've been around since like the late 70s, early 80s. So
probably.
They're probably British. I don't know much about them, but they have the logo where it's like the grinning skull that you've probably seen a lot everywhere. If you Googled it, you recognize it. Very, very popular punk band. Most people listening, if you Google them, you'll recognize either maybe a song or the logo, or just they've been prolific for 40 fucking years all over the place. Whatever. So the Misfits has a guy in them, and oh god, let me find his full name because his name is ridiculous.
Is it? I've got it here probably because I was thinking this guy's name. It's Doyle, which is what my mum was going to call me when I was.
Go ahead, Jackson. Read this man's full name. Go ahead.
It's Doyle Wolfgang von Frankenstein.
Yes, Doyle Wolfgang von Frankenstein. So already he's a performer. He's got a silly name. He wears corpse paint on his face to look like he's dead. He's got a really ridiculous haircut with a gigantic widow's peak down the front of his face. He performs shirtless. He's ripped as fuck, by the way. He's
ripped. He looks like a wrestler.
And jacked.
He looks like a pro wrestler.
He really does. He absolutely looks like he would put people through a fucking folding table.
Yeah.
So Doyle is a very special case because this man is a guitarist in a famous long-running punk rock band, and he can't play the guitar, and has never learned.
Wait, has he been their guitarist the entire time?
So here's what happened with Doyle. Doyle used to work in a factory. I don't know the specifics, but he used to be like a traditional blue-collar worker. And the leader of the Misfits came to him and said, I want you to be guitar in my band because you're cool. You're wicked cool. So Doyle built a guitar at said factory that if you analyze it with even like the smallest of how guitar work knowledge, the thing basically doesn't work. It does, but it doesn't. Like, there's problems with it. There's things that make you go, what the fuck is that? It looks cool, but it's basically a big plank of wood with strings on it. And
so he is
to the layman, that is what a guitar is. Like,
yes,
the people that
so that's where I'm going with this.
That's what I would have assumed.
So that's where I'm going with this, Kaya. So there's a lot of like weird things that if you look into him playing, for example, he was asked the question, well, what tuning is your guitar in? You can retune a guitar to sound different, standard or D standard, maybe C sharp, change the notes that it plays. He was asked, Doyle, what's your guitar tuned to? And he responded, I was never told anything about that. So he doesn't even know.
It's tuned to rock, baby.
So not only does he not know, he has said, I have no interest in music. I don't really want to play or learn music. The only thing I know how to do is put my fingers on the guitar where they belong to play Misfits songs. So the man knows how to fake his way. He knows how to fake his way through the songs that his band plays.
No, that's fucking awesome. This guy's a legend.
It is. And it fits punk rock really, really well. Now, here's another thing that's been going on. There have been rumors circulating among fans of this band, especially lately, that he doesn't even play anymore. He gets up on stage with his guitar unplugged, and there's a man backstage playing everything for him while he just struts around on stage pretending to play.
Okay, so he does know how to play like the Misfits songs. He just doesn't know.
I don't know.
Generally,
I don't know what's an act and what's real, but apparently it shows people notice his guitar's not even fucking plugged in at all.
So he is a pro wrestler. That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, he's just
exactly. So here's the philosophy question I wanted to bring to you guys with this topic. He's basically a showman. He's not a musician. He's not really even like performing in the band. He goes on stage to look cool. Do you guys think you could be happy living that life, or would it eat away at you knowing, oh man, I'm just not contributing at all? 100%. I'm just there.
No, well, he is contributing. Like, even if he's not contributing musically, he's still there as a performer. He's getting the audience amped up. He probably finds some fulfillment in his art form, which is like you said, being a pro wrestler. And it's not that, like Kai is about to say, it's really not that different to most singers and performers. Like, you see Doja Cat on stage lip syncing, and all of her content is basically her just being a stripper on stage, essentially.
I'll go even to an even more basic example. Is this any different than regular acting? It's not like Brad Pitt writes his own lines, you know, he just reads something that someone smarter than him wrote for the screen. He's a good actor, and so is this guy, apparently.
Sure, and I do see that side. I just think for me, and maybe it's a personal thing, there's a part of me that would feel really bad to not at least contribute musically. You know, there's no input on the songs that we play or any of it, you know? Just walking out there and just goofing around and having no credits in the music whatsoever. I'd feel some level of kind of, this is shitty, you know, to a degree. You know what I mean?
But then you would just learn probably the songs and stuff. You'd learn guitar. Just to feel better about yourself.
But also, again, there's like
clearly doesn't care.
So much music where like you'll have somebody, a famous pop star, and then what always happens, all of their songs have the shittiest lyrics with like 2 words, but 89 writers in the credits, and they have like 200 ghostwriters. Not that I'm calling this guy shitty, but you know, it's like, it seems very, very standard in the music industry.
Sure.
Creative fulfillment is always going to be quantified differently per individual basis. Like Andrew, you have a very different idea of what is creatively fulfilling than good old Doyle does over here. He finds a different source of entertainment and success, like personal success.
Yeah, he looks cool though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's on a different level. Did you know he's also in a different band that's just called Doyle with Alex Wolfman Story?
Does he just pump his fist in the air in that band? Like, what does he do?
Well, he's the lead, or no, Alex is the lead. He's also just doing his own thing with the guitar again, but it's just those two. So, he's a very successful musician for someone who doesn't know how to play an instrument.
I want to clarify. I am in no way shitting on this man. He is obviously a performer and obviously, you know, shameless about it and upfront about it. And that's great. It's like pro wrestling. There's nothing wrong with it. But I just know that for me personally, I'd be like, man, I feel like I should at least try to learn the music more than just, oh, this is how you play this song in this band. You know, something.
Well, you're definitely into music in more of the art sense, I would say, Andrew. Like you're a big fan of like learning the instruments, obviously, and that as an art form, yes. Whereas I think most people in this case probably just like to see him have fun, see Doyle have fun and enjoy himself, which is what it sounds like he does. So if you can do that, if he can be creatively fulfilled himself and enjoy what he's doing and the audience loves it and he makes enough money and shit like that, then more power to him. That's fucking awesome.
I want them to like double down on it. Like, I want Doyle to just not even pretend he's playing. Like, he just walks through the crowd and starts moshing and punching people and going real fucking crazy. I want to start
wrestling on the stage, just fucking suplex the lead.
Jumping from the top rope.
Do we know if any of the other band members play their own instruments? Or
from what I know, everyone else in the band is legit. Like actually legit playing instruments, writing the music, all that shit. It's just Doyle is just kind of Doyle.
Maybe this is all misinformation by a rival band, and Doyle's the only one that knows how to play.
He really did create a legacy weapon guitar at a metalworking shop, and it's the perfect guitar.
Awesome. Dude, that's awesome. Oh, what's even funnier is, like I said, my mum was going to name me Doyle growing up, and I was like, I'm so glad you didn't name me Doyle. That is the worst name I've ever fucking heard. Why would anyone choose to name themselves Doyle, or be named Doyle, or name anyone Doyle? And yet this guy's name, he chose to name himself Doyle. His actual name is Paul Caiafa. So Doyle is a stage name. Why would you choose that name? Why would anyone?
Why would you do that?
Why is it's like the least cool name possible. It sounds like Boyle, like a pimple.
See, he
had
it right with Wolfgang von Frankenstein, but then starting it with Doyle just takes all the impact out of it, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's the joke. I respect Doyle.
Maybe, yeah.
True. Actually, yeah, it is. It does retroactively make Doyle a cooler name because he chose it.
Right,
like,
right.
Me being named Doyle would just be lame because I'm, still Jackson. But him, this like pro wrestler who doesn't even know how to play a guitar, naming himself Doyle. That's retroactive.
He's also ripped as fuck, you know.
What instrument could you fake play? Like a theremin?
Well, I know how to play piano a bit, so I could probably fake playing that well, if that's what you mean.
I think that's the easiest one to fake because you just play from behind the piano and no one can see your hands.
As long as you just move your hands a bit.
So, one last point on Doyle. If you boys want to buy his guitar actually made, so Dean Guitars, well-known guitar brand in America, makes their own version of it, and it's the same shape, same look, same everything, but it's actually like perfectly functional. You can play it, everything's good. Would you like to know how much it costs?
50 grand.
Okay, Jackson?
You have to spend a night at Doyle's haunted house.
You have to stay the whole night or else you don't get it. It's the stipulation of his will. Yeah. 10 grand for $10,000. You can have a replica of Doyle's guitar, but fully functional.
Oh, I just saw.
Yeah.
Why does it matter if it's fully functional? It can't be played.
Well, if I'm a guitarist, I'd like to buy a guitar I can play and not just a piece of wood. You know?
Well, wait, but didn't you say that it's not it doesn't work in the traditional sense? Like,
so his that he made himself, from what I can tell, is a more prop than actual guitar. But this Dean version is an actual guitar that's based off his prop. You know.
Well, they should give him one of those then. Like, here, we made a replica of yours that actually works.
But wouldn't that take away from the fun of knowing he's just faking it and fucking around?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, he could just cut the strings and replace them with like fishing lines or something.
Doyle might be my favorite musician now in this kind of scene because I'm so used to like you guys bring up musicians and it being something like terrifyingly like morbid, like pissing on audience members. What was that guy's name? G.G. Allen or whatever?
G.G. Allen, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Shit like that. Whenever we hear about it, it's like really fucking like deplorable shit. But this guy's just having fun. This is clearly, he's having a lot of fun. I'm looking at videos. I'm going through his Wikipedia page right now, and there's absolutely like no controversy.
Yeah. I mean, I do support Doyle. End of the day, you know, whatever of this is just rumor and is true, it doesn't matter. It's working and it's entertaining. I just also find it really funny that he's been doing it for so fucking long. Never once has learned to play beyond, these are where my fingers go for these songs, and that's it.
Yeah. They classify the band as a horror punk band. I wasn't aware that was a genre, like horror punk.
It's spooky, Jackson. It's scary.
That is scary.
Yeah.
Horror punk. Interesting.
He is pretty scary. So is that skill.
Were you guys ever afraid of Kiss growing up? I was.
Wait, what? You were?
No.
They were lame growing up. What do you mean?
I was scared of them. Just their makeup.
Aw, when you were like 5?
No, when I was like 24.
Wait, really?
No, like, growing up.
Yeah. What was it, the makeup?
Yeah, just the makeup. It always looked really scary to me for some reason. I thought that was the intention, though. Are they not a horror punk band?
Kiss is so funny that you say that, man, because there's other bands like that where their entire point is worship Satan, kill women, burn churches. But Kiss is the one that goes, I want to rock and roll all night. Like they're not even remotely scary.
Yeah, but I think growing up, I like only ever saw Kiss in like the news and stuff or media. I probably never saw the actual horror stuff. Horror punk or whatever.
Yeah, if you're like a child, I could see it. Otherwise, what's scary is how dry their hair is. My God.
Gene Simmons, I'll give you Gene Simmons is kind of a freaky looking dude, but the rest are just silly. Like, I don't think the rest are even remotely scary.
Looking at them now, I'm like, what was I scared of? And I can't really pinpoint it.
They look like terrible Power Ranger villains.
No, I'll fully admit I was a pussy growing up, like up until probably like age 13. I was like scared of a lot of things in media. Like I wasn't a fan of horror movies.
No, I was the same. I was a big scaredy cat as a kid. Jackson, did you ever have video games that when they reached the scary part, you just couldn't play them anymore? You had to stop?
Yeah, for sure. There were plenty of scary games.
Tons of those. I'd play the fun parts in the beginning, and then it would get darker and more serious. I'm like, oh, this is too scary, and I'd turn it off and replay the beginning. Did that all the time.
I missed out on a lot of great games growing up just because they were, slightly more scarier than the Teletubbies, probably.
Oh yeah, same. Yeah. There is a game on PlayStation 1. It's the original Spider-Man PlayStation 1 game, and the entirety of the game.
Venom?
No. Venom was funny in the game. He was like cracking jokes. I remember he goes, "I'm surfing the web, Parker," when he's like browsing the internet.
I would have pissed my pants and cried to mum after that.
The whole game is like a straightforward Spider-Man adventure. You swing on buildings, you beat up thugs, you stop a bank robbery. But at the very end, Dr. Octopus gets possessed by Carnage and turns into this giant, massive Venom monster with Doc Ock's tentacles. And like he can't even speak anymore because he's so corrupted. And he chases you down a hallway, literally going, Spider-Man. And I was so goddamn scared that I would always turn it off and restart the game and play it from the beginning whenever that happened. I've never beaten that game since. Literally never seen the ending.
What about the Metal Gear Solid fight where the what's his name, Psychic Mantis or whatever?
Psycho Mantis. That freaked me out as a kid too, but I played it with my brother, so I was able to get through it.
You were brave. Yeah, you were brave when there was another person there. Yeah.
Do you miss those times though?
Oh fuck no. No,
I miss those. What are you don't wish you were 5 again?
You miss being afraid of stuff? Come on.
Yeah,
not afraid of stuff,
afraid is
but
fun.
You know the feeling when like every horror movie today is just unwatchable trash.
Yeah, it's just the same stuff. You don't like. I miss emotions or feelings. Really,
I see what you're saying.
Being new to them.
No, I can get into emotions with any other genre of movie. Like you can watch an emotional movie even as an adult. I just cannot like. No horror is ever scary ever at all ever. And that kind of sucks sometimes because I just, sometimes you want to enjoy a movie in the theaters and it sucks sitting there all jaded like, okay, jump scare incoming. Yep, called it lame.
Yep. The problem related to that hits me the most these days is everything kind of falls into okay. It's a lot harder for me to see something and go, that was excellent, that was awesome, that was great. Like even stuff I know is really good, I just kind of leave with, yeah, that was nice. It's fine.
Just lower your expectations. It's like with dating. You just got to kind of lower your expectations sometimes.
You can't get lower than the floor, Jackson.
You can actually. You can start digging.
Oh, no.
I think when you react like that is already a result of you having low expectations because people like us were just so scared of things letting us down. We already go in with like, yeah, this is going to suck ass, isn't it? And then it sucks like a little less ass than you expected it to. And you go, yeah, that was okay, I guess. And that's like the height of enthusiasm that you feel nowadays.
I'm trying to be positive. I like it because when something truly good does come around, then it's more impactful. Imagine if you only experienced really good things. Like you had an ice cream for breakfast every day or something. Eventually that starts to mean nothing. But if you eat, I don't know, rusty nails every morning and then every Friday you get an ice cream, suddenly Friday is your favorite day of the week.
I 100% am on board with you, Jackson. I feel the same way. But the problem with that is it makes it harder to relate to people because tons of people just take in stuff and most like big popular stuff to them is super good and the height. But when you're like us, more kind of jaded and in a consumerist. I mean, this job, for example, it requires us to be consumerist to a degree. We find stuff that we want to talk about and review and analyze and whatnot. So we get more skeptical. We get higher tastes. But I mean, a lot of people, they go watch whatever the fuck movie or watch whatever the show. And for the vast majority, if it's a good show, it's suddenly a great, incredible show. And it's harder to relate to that feeling,
I guess I just don't really care. It's like it doesn't. I don't put that much thought into it. I really don't. I feel like I go and watch something, and if at the end of the film I don't regret my time with it, then I don't really dig deeper into the reasons as to why, or like I don't care as much. And even if I do regret going and seeing it, I feel like it doesn't ruin my life as much as it probably does. It feels like it does to other people. Because I see people complaining about media like every single moment of every single day online, and I don't really get feeling that way. Like, it's very easy for me to just let those kinds of things go.
Well, see, that's a result of expecting things.
Mm.
Like, yeah, of course you're going to be let down by fucking Game of Thrones, the final season, you know? Smart people knew where this was heading. Just shut off all expectations, and then all of a sudden it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I think the worst thing these days that media can be is just expected. Like, stuff can be good or bad, but there's definitely tons of bad stuff that turns into its own enjoyable thing and event. You know, it's the worst when you watch something and it's kind of just, you have the feeling of, I'm going to forget about this in a day. It's not even going to register in my brain anymore, you know?
Well, then it truly does feel like a waste of time if it's just that kind of, I don't know, milquetoast feeling where you're like, I didn't get anything from this movie or game.
Yeah.
I didn't feel a single thing. You know, I didn't feel like I was disappointed by it. It just feels derivative, I guess, or just like, just milquetoast, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm trying to be more positive at the moment these last few weeks because I really do feel like over the last year I found myself in a bit of a negative Nancy mindset of trying to be hyper cynical of things, and I don't like being in that mind frame. I don't like it because it does, like, if you go in feeling that way, like, everything sucks at the moment, everything is so bad at the moment, then I feel like that bias does just infect it all, generally speaking.
Do you think you might want to take advice from the role model Doyle Wolfgang von Frankenstein?
Yeah, I just want to have fun.
Yeah, do you think he goes to the movies and he goes, I don't follow the plots, I don't listen to the dialogue, I just watch the colors on screen and clap when there's action?
No, you know for a fact, you go to a movie with Doyle, he's getting up there, he's busting off his shirt, he's flexing, pulls out his guitar.
Probably high.
He's having fun. That's what I want. I just want to live a life like Doyle. He's like the pinnacle of fake it till you make it. Literally, he faked it till he made it, and he's still faking it, playing the guitar. That is, like, that's awesome. Love that.
Yeah, he found his calling. He really did. Just being fucking huge and pretending to play guitar. That's it.
Yeah,
I'm sure you can find something, Jackson. You know, even something I've been enjoying this past week is Elden Ring. Actually,
yes, even I'm capable of positive feelings. Me, Kaya.
Yeah. When it comes to video games, at least, because I've just given up on those a while ago. You guys know how I used to get excited for Don't Nod games like Life is Strange. Now it doesn't even register anymore. They just released a new slop game. I'm trying to think of what it was called. I forget already.
Bloom and
Double
Rage
Exposures. Huh?
Oh, is that a different one? Double Exposure? Who just released
like that? I don't know.
Bloom and Rage or something?
Lost Records, Bloom and Rage.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
what the fuck was I thinking of? What the hell is Double Exposure then?
I think
Double Exposure was the last Life is Strange.
I think Double Exposure wasn't that like a compilation pack of their games?
No, that was the last Life is Strange. Anyway, I started it, couldn't finish, boring, and then the Bloom and Rage thing came out, and I just couldn't even care anymore.
But wait, Kaya. But I thought Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, that one's specifically made by Don't Nod, whereas the other ones that you've been playing recently were from the B team, people that took over Life is Strange. I'm pretty sure that's true. So this might be the first Life is Strange game that was made by the actual team since maybe Life is Strange 1. Maybe? I thought I read that somewhere.
I mean, I could give it a try, but
there we go.
There
we go. You might find something you love.
You might want to play it while you still have time, Kaya, because over the last 7 years, Don't Nod Entertainment's stock has dropped by 95%.
Good.
Hey, buy now. Buy while it's low.
Oh yeah, buy the dip. Buy the dip.
Yeah, buy the dip.
It used to be about 32 euros a share, and now it's sitting at like $2. So.
That's good value. Invest.
Good.
Invest your entire 401k.
Good. That's still too high. That still needs way more adjustment. My God, what a shit studio. What a shit franchise. What a shit everything.
There goes the positivity.
Did you want to? Those games just fucking suck donkey balls. I'm sorry. They're just so bad still.
Yeah, what were you saying about Elden Ring?
Oh yeah, I like it. So I downloaded it. Elden Ring, I told you guys before, I've tried probably like 3 times to get into that game, and every time I played for like 2 hours and just stop because it's just not for me. But I'm really trying to force myself again, and that game is so fucking pretty. Like the art style. I don't even know if it's graphically impressive. I don't really.
I don't think it's graphically impressive.
Art direction is what
it's the direction that carries it
a
lot. Yeah.
Like just riding around looking at shit, and it's so pretty, especially when you're just seeing stuff in the distance and you get closer and closer and everything's like to scale with the castles and shit, and you actually feel like, this actually looks like a real life castle. What the hell? Like to size, to scale appropriately. So that's cool. I've been enjoying that.
As you get further in the game, you'll also have the feeling of, oh, that castle, I'm there now. Like you'll be playing the game, you'll see it, and then 6 hours later, you'll look around and go, "Oh, this is that castle I saw. That's fucking awesome."
Distance, yeah,
that's
always
the
best feeling in games is when you see something. Like it's what makes exploration in video games so impactful. Is the player choice of seeing something in the distance and actually going there and discovering what is at that place that you saw, hours ago. It's always that meme of like Todd Howard saying, "And that mountain over there. You can actually go there and explore it." And it's true though. That feeling is like really fucking impactful on a player basis. It's really cool. And I think that's something that Elden Ring does better than most games, is that facet of exploration.
Yeah, Elden Ring perfected the idea of open world exploration. Everything draws your eye. Everywhere feels like a natural way to get there. Everything feels like it makes sense. Everything is different.
It's frictionless.
Yeah, everything in that game, exploration-wise, felt better than anything I've ever done in an exploration of a game.
Well, I think frictionless is actually a pretty good word, because you think of Dark Souls games as something like really frustrating, obviously, because of the combat. Like the bosses are meant to frustrate you. And yes, but the exploration doesn't. Like it's easy to just pick a direction and walk in that direction and find something interesting. Whereas most open world games that exist in the modern era, think about how many different things pull your attention away from just the core act of discovery and exploration in those like Assassin's Creed games, right? You've got the annoyances and contrivances of the generic gameplay. You've got the boring, bloated story missions, and you've got the icon-filled map that you constantly have to go to find where you need to go or find interesting places to go. There's so many different elements of game design that are like pulling at odds with one another that make those kinds of games full of friction. Whereas with Elden Ring, it just removes all of that. And I think that's the greatest success of that game, is you feel like you're on an adventure or a journey
like that.
Yeah,
where
it's just so easy.
I don't know anything about the lore or anything. I do read whatever items I find, and I do talk to the NPCs, but even the NPCs just say like vague shit.
Yeah, welcome to Elden Ring, Kaya. That's the entire game.
Yeah,
never
but I
kind
of like it because I like the vague lore of I get to explore this world without an NPC yapping at me for a 5-minute cutscene. Like, good, actually. I thank you for not talking to me. What do you want me to do? Go to the castle and don't get grafted and kill the spider? Sure, whatever you say, sweetheart. I'm gonna keep going.
But still, the lore is there for the people that find that stuff
The lore is there. It's not overbearing and in your face, and I like that when you're, for instance, when you're just riding around, the UI disappears unless you press Y or some button that's mapped to it. Unless you're in combat, the UI disappears, and it's nice. It's not cluttered. There's no giant minimap with blinking exclamation marks and go here and shit. There's just a very, very faint string of lights that emanates from those grace campfire thingies. It gives you like a very vague direction. Yeah,
like an in-game visual representation of where you should go, or like kind of the game guiding you in a subtle way, or not so subtle. You know how games do that annoying thing where everything that you can interact with is yellow, or like climbing ledges are yellow and stuff like that? Yeah. That's the not subtle way. Yeah, that's the not subtle way of doing it.
Which, sometimes I do find myself looking around like, where the fuck do I go? And then a minute later, I'll go, oh, there's a ladder. How did I not see that? But I still prefer that to the glowing yellow paint on the ladders, or what Dead Space 3 did, where they just put neon lights on every ladder. I like that. I like you guys said, the bosses are fucking punishing, but I don't think the exploration is, because when you die in the overworld, like even if you just die to a random stray rat that jumps out at you from a bush, it's relatively easy to go back and get your runes back, like to get your experience points back. So even when you die to a shitty jump scare is the wrong word, but like to a sneak attack, yeah, you don't feel too angry. Like, this is so unfair. I'm so pissed off. Because, okay, whatever. It's like a 30-second ride and I can get all my shit back and try again.
Yeah, the game even pushes you toward continual exploration, because as you kill enemies in the open world, you get your health flask refilled. So in the dungeons, like when you're in a castle or a mine or any of that stuff, you have the challenge is, you have 5 flasks, you have 5 heals. Get through this whole area without healing anymore. And that's the challenge of all the Souls games. But in the open world, it goes, keep going until something kills you, because if you're killing enemies and exploring, it's just going to refill your heal recharges to let you keep going. It's very smart about that. It's very well made.
I agree. Like, I'm enjoying it a lot. One of the only maybe small things so far that have been annoying me is that some enemies are so big that you can't actually make out what their attack pattern is.
Yeah.
Unless you're like riding around, because I don't know what any of the enemies are called, but like some of them are so big that the camera angle doesn't even let you see their arms. So I don't even know where they're swinging. So it's kind of gets
very finicky to land attacks on stuff as well when the camera is,
and if it helps, Kaya, if it helps to encourage you to keep playing, that only gets worse as you play through the game, because you will encounter enemies that do it way more annoyingly later on. It's good stuff. But I totally hear what you're saying.
I totally understand the game design difficulty with that, though. You want to like create enemies that are large and impactful. And you know, utilize that scale well, but you still need to be able to like telegraph the attacks and stuff, and I don't think it's something that Elden Ring pulls off in that way successfully. My biggest issue with the game design of Elden Ring predominantly was what I would call bullshit fights, where it really forces you to use gimmicky tactics and stuff like that if you do want to pass. Like, I remember getting so frustrated by one of the duo fights. I think it was duo gargoyles. Like the 2 gargoyles down in the down below in the underground.
No, you're talking about something else. Oh, I see. I know what you're talking about.
This is still Elden Ring. Yeah,
I thought you meant Duo Godskin, because Duo Godskin is the one where everyone bitches. That's the robed guys in the church.
It's the same. It's the same concept though. Just the duo fights in general. I'm not a giant fan of the design of those. It just doesn't feel very
or just a copy paste of one boss.
Yeah, it's just 2 bosses together basically.
It gets a little of that. My biggest complaint on Elden Ring, I think the main game is borderline perfect. There's some issues, there's some weird stuff, there's stuff I didn't like, but in terms of a sense of adventure, the idea of I'm conquering this world, it was perfect. It nailed it. I'm going to say this and everyone's going to hate me. I hated the DLC. I didn't like it at all. I don't know what they did, but everything felt tedious and unfun, and bosses felt like they had 3 times the health they should and took forever.
Well, weren't you meant to upgrade your flasks though? Isn't there like
I did. I did all the so the DLC has its own unique resource to up your damage, and I did. I collected it. I got pretty much everything I should have.
The scourge tree thing or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah. And I did everything right. And like, it just, I don't know what it was. It didn't fire for me. I felt really uninspired and didn't like riding forever to find anything, because in the main game it felt like you're always finding shit, even though the world is huge and open. It's like, okay, there's a cave over there, there's an encampment over there, there's a church over there, there's a portal over there, there's a whole castle over there. Like, you were always thinking that I could go down this way, out that way. In the DLC, it's like it's open, but there's really only 1 or 2 ways to go.
Right.
A lot of the time, and it felt like, God, I'm so tired of this. I just don't care.
Yeah, I didn't play much of it. I played maybe an hour, and then I was like, I feel like this is just going to be more Elden Ring, and I feel like I've hit my peak for Elden Ring content, basically.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'll wait for another time, basically, to dive into this. That doesn't mean that like more Elden Ring is still Elden Ring, right? So it's still probably good. It's just like I was at my limit for Elden Ring content at the time. So I don't fault people who enjoy that a lot of people love it, but I did see a lot of comments around the launch of the DLC that echoed that sentiment, Andrew, that enemies or bosses felt very tanky in an unfun way.
Yeah.
But then I did see a lot of comments of people saying, just upgrade your scatter tree elements or whatever, your flasks and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it was more of a personal thing, but I just never felt that sense of exploration that I did with the base game. The base game felt like there was 101 possibilities and paths at any time, whereas the DLC, it felt like it wants to say that there are, but it's linear. You go one real dictated way in the guise of a giant open world, and I don't remember when I had that moment, but there was some boss I got to. I think it was like a knight on horseback in a field. And I did it like 2 or 3 times and died. And then I just kept thinking, I'm beating this because I feel obligated, not because I'm having fun. And I haven't played it since. And it never gave me that, like, what Kaya's talking about, where it's like, you have that fun progression, that art direction that draws you forward. I never felt that in the DLC like I did in the main game the whole time. I don't know what it was. I don't know why it was so different.
Yeah.
It sucks. I hope I enjoy it. Well, if I even make it that far, I'm probably going to get like 2 years worth of gameplay out of this main game, probably.
Yeah,
because I still suck at the game. I like it. I just, I'm still ass. I suck donkey balls at video games, but I try, and it is just such a pretty game to simply... And I haven't even explored it that much. I've been in, like, whatever the first area was called, Limgrave, and then the Weeping something down south, the Weeping Peninsula.
Weeping Peninsula, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, even when I play on I undusted my Steam Deck for the first time in a year to actually use it. And like, even on a tiny screen, it's like, I go, wow, yeah, that is fucking pretty. God damn, if I was like still 16 years old, I would coom to this so bad.
Things pop on gross first. And second, things pop on that Steam Deck. Like, seriously, like,
I hated the performance on the Steam Deck, but it works. I hated it, though.
No, I meant like the visuals pop on the Steam Deck because you like lower the pixel density or whatever to that smaller screen, and it just, it looks really good on the Steam Deck. That's what one of my negatives was for Elden Ring, and I'll still stand by it. The performance at launch was pretty unacceptable in my opinion of the game on PC. Like I don't think the game was graphically demanding enough to warrant the performance limitations at
I think
launch.
there were a lot of issues, right? I guess they fixed them by now, or
I think
because
they're pretty
I'm playing on a 4090, but yeah, it runs fine now.
I think I was playing on a 4090 at the time. Actually, maybe not. Maybe it was like a 2080 Ti. But regardless, like it should have ran fine, and I was like dipping pretty significantly into like the mid 50s and stuff, and I just didn't see the performance is acceptable for that kind of hardware configuration at the time, and people excused it and stuff, which kind of annoyed me because I don't think that games, especially games like FromSoft games or Souls-like games, where like combat is very like you got to be frame perfect, right? You got to have like complete control over your inputs, basically. If there's like frame dips and stuff, then it becomes very frustrating and not in the fun way. And I felt like nailing that 60 frames or whatever, like solid 60 frames is very important for the game, and it didn't at launch. That I remember that annoyed me, and I'll still stand by that being a downside to the game at launch. It's probably fixed now. I would hope so.
Let's give Kaya some encouragement, because we were just talking about being all too negative. Kaya, listen to me and listen to me good. When you think you're out of stuff to do, look up a guide to make sure you get all the content, because the game, every area is unique and interesting and worth exploring. It really is worth your time to go through the entire world. That's a plus for the game right there.
Yeah, I believe you. Right now, I'm still at the point where I can make some like semi-progress without needing any guides, because wherever you go, it's kind of like low-level enemies, and it's easy to discover items and such. But
sure,
yeah, eventually I might. Like I said,
there are just areas. Go ahead.
I was just looking at this. They're apparently now making a spin-off co-op game called Night Rain.
Night
also
Rain
looks cool.
Where like a battle royale, I think, or is it?
It's like a
people
hack and
versus
slash, I think.
Yeah. So it's like a roguelike, I think. Like you play through it.
Yeah, it sounds more like Helldivers, but with 3 players.
Kind of.
They removed the fall damage, and you can like jump up walls and shit, so you're much more mobile. Looks fun.
Yeah.
That's something I would definitely try with my friends.
Looks fun, but I don't understand why they're making a standalone game. I feel like it would have been better as like another expansion to Elden Ring.
Yeah.
It seems like a standalone game, right?
It is a standalone game, but it's a $40 game. It's not a $60 game.
Yeah, true.
I think once you add too much stuff, maybe it just becomes easier to make it its own thing. Just like Tears of the Kingdom was its own standalone game.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see. Seems I like that they're trying different things with it, like doing unique twists on the formula and stuff. Yeah, it should be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I was bringing up performance anyway because I wanted to lead into talking about the new Monster Hunter game. I don't know are you guys fans of the Monster Hunter series?
No, not
The only thing I know about the new game is one of the recipes is you eat a giant cabbage with some shrimp and a bit of honey on it, and it looks fucking disgusting.
Yeah, the food looks great in the game. Like the food cutscenes, I swear, like most Japanese games.
But who the fuck would eat some cabbage with shrimp and honey? Like it's just weird.
That's the Monster Hunter universe. But I love that Japanese games pour like 90% of their budget into making food cutscenes, basically. Where
they're
you prepare
anime
food.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so funny. And the cutscenes in Monster Hunter look great. But yeah, so Monster Hunter, there's a new game coming out, Wilds. I'm not a big fan of I don't actively play the Monster Hunter series. This would be my first one, really. I played a little bit of Worlds, the last one, but dipped out pretty early because I just didn't think it was my type of game. But I was excited to try this one because Worlds got like so much hype behind it. Like people loved the series. I didn't realize it was as big as people have made Monster Hunter into. It's enormous. It's such a massive franchise. So I'm excited to try it. I tried the beta this weekend though, and I was immediately disappointed by the performance again. Like it's not visually demanding enough to struggle on a 4090. It's kind of ridiculous. Like it's running at like
well, you got to get the
frames.
5090 that just came out, Jackson. Only a reasonable $4,500 from resellers.
I just don't get it. Like
some of those demos where they're now bragging more and more about their frame generation AIs between like actual game frames, and I forget what the game was. I think it was Wukong, Myth of Wukong. Yeah. I could be wrong, but they were demoing the 5090 and saying, yeah, so the way this works is we render the game at 1080 or so, and it runs at 30 or so frames, and thanks to NVIDIA's new hoopity-boop frame generation, you can play it at 4K at 60 frames. And it's like, shouldn't your like state-of-the-art card be able to play this thing 4K
That's my
native,
point.
Though?
That's my point. I shouldn't be struggling on a game with a 4090 to run it at a at least a 60 frame rate, just native at 4K. Like that should just be standard. Yeah. I shouldn't need frame. Like this is a top line card that came out 2 years ago. I shouldn't need DLSS and frame gen, both of which are incredible technologies, obviously, to boost frame rates, like and help out lower end cards. 100%. They're technology that's super impressive, and I love them. And I would, invite them over to snuggle in bed. Absolutely love them, but they shouldn't be necessary to reach 60 frames on a new game on a 4090. They shouldn't. So there's clearly a performance issue with Monster Hunter, 100%. And I don't think people should be using DLSS and frame gen as a band-aid for that to, avoid that criticism. They shouldn't be crutches, yeah.
I mean, that's just the pitfall of modern gaming these days, isn't it? Where everything is expected to be an incomplete product, missing content, performance issues, this or that. Like, it's just the industry now, Unfortunately, I expect most game releases to be flawed rather than go well,
I really don't understand why games don't target like a solid 60. Just in general, like console games as well. Like 60 really is just the lowest playable frame rate for me. Anything under, and I immediately feel that
unfortunately everything
input
now.
Disconnect.
Like all software developments. I remember, like people my age, we remember when every software you downloaded had a native UI to the operating system. Whereas now everything is running basically as a browser. Like Discord is technically a browser running inside an app. So is your Spotify app, so is Netflix, and everything is just low-key slower. Because nobody cares about optimizing anymore. They just slap, DLSS on top, and There you go, 60 frames. Fuck you.
On one hand, I get it because there are so many different hardware configurations. Optimizing for every single configuration is downright impossible. But it really feels like they're not even doing the bare minimum anymore, which is it's obviously a shame. They see that this technology exists, and they're like, okay, we can divert our resources, optimization resources, to other ends of the game, and just let the consumer base use DLSS and FrameGen to get to playable levels or whatever.
Chad made a good point, like the classic building shaders, please wait. Like typical 10-minute wait now in front of everything.
That's my favorite when it goes, building shaders, please wait. Game has to restart to properly build shaders, and then you restart it and it goes, building shaders, please wait. And you have to wait another fucking 20 minutes.
But I'm fine with that. But you know, they do that so that your game doesn't stutter constantly within the games while they, load the textures and shit. So I'm fine with that.
The weird thing I read about that, I could be getting this a little wrong from memory, but apparently some Windows games actually run better on Linux thanks to Steam's Proton layer. Because on Windows, your shaders sometimes, in most games at least, they have to compile on the fly. That's why you get the shader stutter, right? It's the infamous shader stutter in the middle of your game. Whereas on Linux, apparently the Steam guys figured this out, where they basically have the game preload all the scenes that it's about to show you, and that's what the shader, the loading thing is. Like when you play it on your Steam Deck, and it basically adjusts all the shaders beforehand, and so you don't get shader stutter on Linux or your Steam Deck, which is just so bizarre and weird to me that this game that wasn't even meant for this platform actually runs better on this platform because other people.
Well, it's an obvious solution. It's an obvious, like, Unity is the Unity engine is well known for its shader loading issues. Like most Unity games in the last few years have had that stuttering issue in games. Like I remember, I think it was, what was that Dead Space like game that came out and flopped? Andrew, do you remember?
Oh yeah.
Callisto
Protocol. Callisto.
Yeah, I remember that was infamous for those stutters, those Unity stutters. Am I saying? I meant Unreal Engine, by the way. Unreal stutters. And so now every Unreal Engine game that comes out has that pre-baking little loading bar at the front whenever you loaded the game, because they've decided that's the obvious solution, and it does work. It's a solution to the issue, and I guess that's what you're saying Steam Deck does as well with Proton.
Yeah, and I mean not just on the deck, but if you install Steam on any Linux machine, they figured out. They have some sort of name for this software layer aside from Proton, but yeah, basically preloads the game in memory, pretends to be playing it, and just compiles all the shaders during that, and so it doesn't happen on the fly.
That's cool.
In the middle of the game. That is cool. It's also very weird that like a third party has to fix your shader loading problems like this for you.
I feel
so Steam, good job for them on their part.
I feel like a lot of the game performance issues that seem to be happening more and more, probably stemming from the fact that every single game dev studio is now opting for those Unity / Unreal game engines. Like I'm never really a big fan of, boiling everything game complaint down to, blaming it on the game engine. But it really does feel like those unique studio specific game engines are going the way of the dust. They're disappearing. They're going extinct.
The bespoke engines, They're all just switching to Unreal now.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame. Like you see Cyberpunk, what's the Cyberpunk dev? CD Projekt Red.
CD Projekt Red,
Yeah, they're abandoning their Red engine for Unreal on the next Witcher game, which is a shame because that engine seemed really fucking cool and built for their studio specifically.
Well, but hang on, wasn't that engine just notoriously buggy and fucked in Cyberpunk? Like, wasn't it a non-functional piece of shit for the longest time?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of that is down to bad game dev, like them just not hitting their deadlines and stuff. I still think that with their engine that they can, tweak on the back end themselves, and they have institutional knowledge themselves about their engine. I don't know. I feel like that's just more. I think that's better.
I'm going to take the opposite stance here. I think them moving to the newer tech is better if they do it well. And the example I'm going to cite here is Bethesda, who have been using the same goddamn engine for 20 fucking years and still don't do anything right with it.
Yeah, but I mean, that's your job to improve your own engine, you know?
Yeah.
Why does your game that just came out last year still look like Skyrim?
Okay, yeah, counterpoint. Counterpoint, Andrew. I think if Starfield was made on Unreal Engine, I think it would still suck just as bad.
That's fair. I will give you that.
Yeah,
totally fair.
I don't think the issues with Starfield came down to the engine choice.
God, I hope they go bankrupt before the new Elder Scrolls launches. I really fucking hope so.
They tweeted recently saying they're doing like a Make-A-Wish Foundation event, and the person will get to choose like they'll get to have an NPC in the next Elder Scrolls game or whatever. And the picture that they used for it was the exact same picture from the announcement trailer from 7 years ago when they announced the next Elder Scrolls game. So there's been absolutely nothing done on that game in those 7 years.
Those fucking kids are going to be dead before that game even comes out. What's the point?
It's their legacy. They get to be in the next Elder Scrolls.
I would protect my child from that. I would cover their eyes and usher them out of the theater as soon as I saw Elder Scrolls do that. Fuck.
Yeah, imagine if your fucking legacy is being included in like I don't know, like Borderlands 4. Like they make you an NPC in the Borderlands game.
God.
Or the next Elder Scrolls game. Well, at least Elder Scrolls is cooler than Borderlands, actually.
God,
that sucks.
God. I hate video games.
No, don't be negative. Video games are cool. I've been playing... I was talking to Kai about this before. I've been playing the new Obsidian RPG, Avowed. And again, I'm trying to be more positive lately. I'm actually enjoying it quite a bit. I didn't initially, I messaged Kaya complaining about it, but I think I was just in a bad mood that day. And now that I've been playing it a bit more, I've actually been enjoying it quite a bit. But the general consensus online seems to be fairly negative. I'm not quite sure why. I think it might be culture war issues again.
I just saw a comparison of like the spells versus Skyrim spells on vanilla Skyrim, and the Skyrim ones kind of look, low-key better still somehow.
No way. What? The spells are great in Avowed. Like, that's one of the main things that people all agree on is like the combat is pretty much the best point of the game. And I see that, yeah. The combat is pretty cool. But the main issue is
boring.
No, the combat's fine. It's good. Combat's better.
Jackson, he saed the combat's boring. Okay. Don't argue with him.
No, I said Jackson said that. I haven't even played fucking this game. I don't even remember when I played.
Kaya says that you said the combat's boring. Don't argue with yourself.
Yeah, don't argue with yourself.
Okay, so if we're going to compare Avowed to Skyrim, I think they're trying to be different games. Skyrim is more of like a sandbox RPG, whereas I don't think Avowed is even trying to do that. It's an action-centric kind of story game, I guess you would call it, story RPG. It doesn't really have the reactive elements that Skyrim and those kinds of games does, like where you can like pickpocket people and steal stuff. It doesn't have those at all. So people...
You can't pickpocket?
Like, they're complaining about that. No, you can't pickpocket. It's not one of those kinds of games. And if that's what you're looking for, then yeah, I can see why you.
Yeah, that's like sorry, that's just an instant -3 points. That's just.
But what if the game's not even? What if the game's not trying to be that though?
That doesn't matter. Is it an RPG or not? In an RPG, you're supposed to be able to pickpocket and get caught and start a fight. That's what an RPG is by my definitions. God damn it.
So Elden Ring is a really bad RPG then.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it depends what you're going for.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Pickpocketing is fun. Like in Elden Ring, I get it.
I will say
aren't that many NPCs, but
in Avowed, it is kind of funny. Like I was walking into houses and just picking up people's food in front of them, and they didn't care. They were just sitting there, like, okay.
See that to me, that's my bar for an RPG where you can do unexplainable, fucking horrible social behavior, and no one gives a shit or reacts. That's an RPG.
Yeah, I would say the reactivity of the world around you, like for those kind of sandbox elements of like picking stuff up, no one really cares. Like the most they'll do is comment on it. One specific example is I was walking through the main town. I forget the name, Paradise. I was walking through the town and there had been a murder on the ground. So 2 guards were standing over a dead body, scripted event or whatever. Like they were like combing the area for evidence, and there was a murder knife next to the person dead on the ground. It was covered in blood. So I picked it up basically, and they were just like, "Hey, that's a murder weapon. Be careful with that." And then nothing happened. I just walked off. No kind of, they didn't stop me.
I love that shit so much. I do that. It doesn't even have to be an RPG. I do that in every game I ever play. I try to ask the question, would the developers think if I did this, and see what happens. I try to just boundary break everywhere I can, fuck with tools and items and characters. I really want to see what they thought the player might do.
Well, clearly they thought it was going to happen because they added that little dialogue check. But it does feel weird,
but
like
they
you
don't
do
think
that,
beyond
and then
that, you know. They don't think, well, what if he doesn't put it back, you know?
Yeah, you don't get into a fight with him.
I want that simul. I want the.
I want it to be where
I can take that knife and put it in another NPC's pocket, and then alert the cops to him and have him arrested. Like,
yeah.
Deep simulation.
Kaya is describing why cinematic action and cinematic RPG games never, ever, ever work for me. Because they only work if you play along, if you follow the way the developers want you to do things. Like, you play the new God of War, and they go, make sure to run straight ahead at Thor and attack him. Well, what if I run to the left? Well, what's going to happen? Oh, I'm locked here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's boring. Yeah. And my favorite example will always be forever. Try this at home, kids. I don't know if they patched it. In the Spider-Man PlayStation 4 game, not Miles Morales, the original one, the Spider-Man Insomniac game, there's this part where you play as Mary Jane, and she has to get photos to collect evidence for something she's doing. You walk into like a museum, and there's something she has to photograph in a little display case. I look straight down at the floor and took a photo of the floor in front of it, and she goes, got it, time to get out of here. Like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
I love that shit so much because it shows the developer didn't take 5 minutes to say, well, what if the player doesn't follow along? What if they don't obey the rules? What's going to happen, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's
not even like the smallest check.
Yeah.
Like,
well, see, I like the...
There's choices in the game, though. The choices, there's like choices and impact, pretty big choices and impact that you can make that change your playthrough. There's like many different things, but it's like related to specifically like the story, you know, dialogue checks and things like that. Whereas if you're looking for the kind of gameplay granularity where you can change things, like you said, like you can like pickpocket knives and put it on other people to frame them and stuff, more like actual sim kind of games. What do they call them? Not life sims.
Immersive sims.
Immersive sims, yeah, like immersive sims. It's not that kind of game. It's just it's like a pretty generic action RPG, I would say.
You guys are gonna hate me, but I have to bring it up. The master of immersion in games, Mr. Hideo Kojima himself.
You son of a bitch! You promised us you'd never bring him up again after the quiz.
He nails it. I'm sorry. You can play Metal Gear Solid 3, and you can blow up food storehouses, and all the guards will complain all game how hungry they are. You can shoot them in their dominant hand, and they'll no longer be able to hold their rifle properly. You can shoot them in the leg, and they'll limp around. You can break their radios, and they won't be able to call for backup. The list goes on and on and on. And I think growing up with those games has spoiled me for wanting that stuff in games. I want them to feel real. Yeah. I don't want to be directed. I want the world to feel like it lets me make my own fun and acknowledges
Larian is also good at that.
Larian's good, yeah.
And like
what did they make again?
Baldur's Gate 3 and
still gotta play it.
Divinity Original Sin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Divinity was cool. I played Divinity, but I still Baldur's Gate 3 still on my list. I'll eventually get there. I'm just not there yet.
It's good. You have to play it with friends.
Incredible game.
I don't know if you would enjoy it all alone.
Sure.
With friends, it's just a lot of fun.
Like it's one of those games where yes, the multiplayer is absolutely fun, but I think there's definitely a large group of people that enjoy playing those games alone, and that's totally fine. Like the immersive element of it, making a character and then, you know, being able to do reactive things in the world without, you know, having to entertain your friends and being drawn out of it that way. Like I definitely prefer playing a lot of those games on my own and, you know, making a character and stuff.
I mean, I'll get into it.
Friends.
I'll get into it however the fuck I get into it. It's just the backlog never ends, gentlemen. It's never ending.
Yeah, dude. That's called getting old and having giant wieners and stuff.
But is this part of the show ending, Jackson? Is that where we're at now?
This is the show is ending, guys, but not forever. In fact, we're going to keep going, but only for Patreon members. We're going to do a bonus right now. Basically, we're going to keep recording. If you're listening to this over on public channels, like YouTube and Spotify and stuff, you can head on over to patreon.com/theofficialpodcast to keep listening. We're going to talk about some more fun stuff, but that's the end of the public show. We're going to keep doing this for a while, see how that goes, as in like doing exclusive bonus episodes directly after the main episode so that we don't lose our momentum and we get to give our Patreon and official members some extra content. So head on over to official.men or patreon.com/theofficialpodcast. You're still getting your full episode, your full public episode. Yes. That's not changing. Still
full regular main episode, no content cut or removed. Same as always. If you don't pay, nothing is changing there. It's just if you pay, you're getting more extra content.
It's just the after show. Someone said, wait, call it the after show. Sounds catchy.
Yeah, the after show, the post show, the wrap up party.
The extended show.
Yeah.
Excel edition.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, official. What do they call it? Official. Fuck. What do they call it? Like at night?
The official fuck. That's right, Jackson.
Yeah, the official fuck fest.
On a bridge.
It's 45 minutes of us banging. No, like after dark, right? That's what they call like shows that go on.
Unedited, unscripted, whatever, uncensored, whatever the fuck.
We do it naked.
Yeah. Look, point is, you get a whole episode, and then we're just going to keep rolling for another hour-ish. And that's going to become bonus content for the patrons. If you want to hear it, you can sign up on Patreon or on official.men. But if you don't want to, that's fine. You're making the wrong decision, but you don't have to. But you will still be getting a full episode on the regular schedule.
Nothing changes. You're fine. You guys are smart. You guys are smart. You understand what's happening. That's going to do it for this episode, though. Official.men.